Welcome to the second part in the series on why do people stay stuck in bad situations. In the past episode, we talked about why do people choose to hang around in unfulfilling or toxic jobs. And in case you missed that, you can always go back and check it out. It's there on our podcast. But today we are going to talk about why do people stay in relationships that don't serve them. And of course, Prachi is going to shed some light on this and drop some major truth bombs in today's episode. So let's get going, shall we? So, Prachi, tell me, why do you think this is something that we really, really need to talk about?
See, I've been a relationship therapist for more than 20 years now, right? And the one pain point that I see most often in people's lives, whether it's in my clients who are showing up for therapy or like in my social circle, people I meet, all of that, is that they don't know how to end bad relationships. Ending relationships, I think, is such a loaded concept for us humans that we tolerate pain, we tolerate unhappiness, we tolerate humiliation, even self sabotage for years, but we won't walk away. This keeps people stuck in unfulfilled lives for much longer than necessary. And I think that's why it's very, very important to talk about. More so because I think we also need to learn the difference between walking away because it's necessary and chasing an illusion we think is better than what we have.
I know, so important. And tell me, Prachi, what are some of the most common reasons people stay in toxic or unfulfilling relationships, even when they know that it's not serving them? What are the areas that you noticed for yourself or people that you worked with as a therapist?
Hmm. You're asking me to give away a whole chapter of my book here.
Well, I'm trying. I'm trying.
No, I'm not giving it away. But I am going to definitely touch upon some aspects here. And honestly, like if you want to read about this in detail, please wait for my upcoming book.
Yes,
Because
so I want to tell one thing to everyone right here. I'm going to pause, stop you. I'm sorry. But I have had the privilege of reading a couple of chapters of Prachi's book, and they're really amazing. It's going to give you some beautiful, amazing insights that are so practical that will make you believe that you're not alone and also empower you in a way that you need to be, in a positive way that will really help you shape the course of your coming days. So, yeah, I wanted to really add that.
thank you. Thank you so much. And Shikha, I mean, you know this more than anyone else, how close this book is to my heart because it is closely interwoven with my personal story. So yes, I mean, I would love for anyone out there to read this and tell me, what you thought or, if it impacted you in your life. But anyway, coming back to the question. So I will touch upon some important aspects here, and hopefully that will give you enough direction to maybe explore more after you are done with this episode. So, what are the most common reasons people stay in toxic or unfulfilling relationships? First, family ties. You might have kids, you might not want to upset your parents, you might, and when I'm saying toxic relationships, I'm like leaning more towards romantic relationships, but it does include any kind of relationships, like you can have a toxic boss, you can have a toxic sibling, you can have toxic parents. So these reasons also more or less apply to every situation, but then it can simply be a romantic relationship situation because that's what I think really pains people more, right? So, family ties, you might not want to leave because you have kids involved. You don't want to upset your parents by telling them that you are in pain or you are not happy. You might think, like, that whole concept of, oh, but then blood is thicker than water. So, like, this is family, and therefore you have to put up with it, and you kind of keep rationalizing it to yourself. So, the first important reason is family ties. Second, saving face. And this is especially true for romantic relationships, especially people who have chosen partners themselves, who have maybe sometimes, gone against their parents' wishes, family's wishes to marry this person. Or even if the consent from the family is there, it's not like 100% on board and all of that. So people want to, how do I go and tell them that this is not working out? Nobody wants to hear, I told you so. So you want to save face.
Mm.
Third important reason, and I feel like this is a little bit of an underrated reason, is overvalued sense of commitment. We place a lot of value, and it should be like that on our word, right? So when you realize that maybe this is not working for you, and you think about leaving, backing out, one of the things that plays is that whole thing of, oh, but then I committed to this, I chose this.
Mm.
And if that connects to your sense of self-worth, if that connects to how much integrity you think you have as a person, then this is going to create a challenge for you to make a clear decision. And I think men are more conditioned to do this thing of like place a lot of value on their word, and therefore like you took the responsibility, so you should not back out. Like, how can you do that? I think the pressure there is a little bit more skewed.
Mm.
Fourth is attachment styles. We spoke about this a little bit on our previous episode when we were talking about workplaces also. And honestly, I think most of our viewers would be acquainted with the concept more or less because it's really talked about nowadays. So we understand that there is anxious attachment style, there is avoidant, there is anxious avoidant, disorganized. So attachment styles basically talk about or dictate how you connect in relationships and how you perceive your worth to a certain extent in a relationship by the virtue of that connection. So, for example, anxious attached people need that constant approval, appreciation, recognition, and assurance basically that, okay, yes, I am in love with you, or you are important to me. Avoidant attached people actually withhold a lot of connection, investment in the relationship until they think they have proof
Mm.
that yes, this other person is into me. और वो प्रॉब्लम ये हो जाती है कि फिर वो प्रूफ का ही वेट करते रहते हैं बिकॉज the void inside of them is so huge that no amount of proof is enough. Actually, they keep waiting for more, and in that journey they like don't give what is needed in the relationship to thrive. Then it kind of leads the other person to sort of pull away, and then that becomes a vicious cycle for them ki acha see this person is pulling away, I knew they are not that much into me, and therefore it's good that I did not commit.
Yeah.
और मजे की बात यह है कि the anxious attached and the avoidant attached will
Always come together and find each other across globes.
exactly. So attachment styles definitely is a huge factor in why somebody would stay in a relationship which is not serving them, because you keep wanting to reinforce your
Mm.
belief about the relationship. Um, Fifth is low self-worth. हम जनरली जब लो सेल्फ एस्टीम, लो सेल्फ वर्थ की बात करते हैं तो हम करियर अचीवमेंट, प्रोफेशनल अचीवमेंट या इन जनरल लाइक लाइफ सक्सेस के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखते हैं, बट दिस एक्चुअली प्लेज अ लॉट ऑफ रोल इन partner relationships and other familial relationships also, because your self-worth actually dictates or determines what you think you deserve.
Mm.
So you will like, if bad treatment is being given to you, then you will think that uh, it's okay, like I've done something to deserve this, or this is the best I can get, or there isn't anything better out there for me, and I have to appreciate what I have. So low self-worth kind of, makes you settle, the word
Mm.
that we use a lot, like you settle for less, right? So it makes you do that. And it's a very, I would say, like a very insidious virus in a relationship,
Mm.
which kind of eats it up from inside slowly, gradually, and you keep gravitating to partners who don't treat you well
Mm.
because of low self-worth.
And do you think this is also like you talked about the whole gender thing earlier, in terms of commitment, when we said that it's slightly skewed towards the male gender? Do you think there is a certain skewing in this particular one as well?
Yes, I think this is more skewed towards women, because I think a lot of women kind of spend a major chunk of their lives proving themselves in
Mm.
some way or the other, and they kind of they have to compete with the masculine a lot of times, and they have to like become this person with like 15 hands who can do 15 different things at the same time.
Yeah.
And you may do it, like she may actually do it, but then it's underneath, it's like really taking a long-term toll on the self-worth that she has, like because she doesn't have the time to actually sit down and really think about, do I really deserve this? Do I really deserve this life? Can I get something better? And I am worth it, you
Mm.
know? So
Yeah.
yeah, the skewing definitely is there on this aspect towards the feminine. And I think final reason, and again, this is like an over encompassing reason probably for the most uh, difficult barrier to exiting toxic relationships, is a twisted idea of what love is.
Yeah.
Believe me, like nobody knows what love is. Nobody has a clue on what healthy love is. We have all been raised on uh, strange movies, pop culture, literature, fantasy literature, love stories, all of that, which is propagating every other idea about love other than what healthy love needs to be.
Mm.
तो आप अगर रात रात भर पिलो में रो रो के
No,
उसको भिगो नहीं रहे हो, तो द लव इज नॉट पैशनेट इनफ.
exactly.
या फिर आप if you're not having these constant like major fights and then roaring makeup sex, then it's not intense enough.
Yeah. And you're not
If
walking on eggshells, not jittery, then yeah, of
yeah,
course.
you're not jittery, like, and you'll confuse this anxiety for butterflies, right?
Like,
You're not looking for butterflies. If there is no chase,
not
no,
fun. Yeah.
yeah, not fun. If there is no push and pull, then there is no spark.
Yeah.
Somebody might be offering love to you freely, and you'll be like, you'll completely friend zone that person because,
Too
no,
easy.
yeah, like so easy that there's no fun in
There's
this.
no fun in it.
So yeah, so the twisted ideas of love, you really like, I'll give you this, just makes me think. I had a client once who had a teenage daughter, and he and his wife were divorced. So the daughter used to live with the mother most of the time and visit the father. So the mother was like going through a lot of emotional issues. So the relationship between the mother and daughter was very volatile,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
and it used to escalate to an extent ki sometimes the mother would like just push the daughter out of the house and say, just like, I don't want to see your face, and get out of here and
Yeah.
all of that, and which was very obviously upsetting for her. And I mean, teenage is already like really a
Mm.
difficult time. So he was telling me once about like some incident like this that happened, and obviously it used to bother him कि ये चल रहा है वहाँ पे, and I am not able to like intervene,
Mm.
do anything. So he was narrating one incident like this, and he said like when she came to me and she was like really crying and very upset and like really broke my heart, and I was telling her that don't forget that your mother loves you, and I told him, I said, don't do this. Don't pair this for her. Don't say
Yeah.
that, or don't give her the impression that, the person who loves you also has a right to do this to
Mm.
you.
Exactly. Yeah.
You really don't know the kind of partner she's going to go towards after this, if this
Mm.
becomes sealed into her mind.
Yeah.
He thought about it and he said, oh, I actually thought that I was trying to soothe her by making her believe that even if this is happening, the mother loves her, and
Yeah.
that would be like a solace for her. But I didn't
Mm.
think of it this way, that I'm actually telling her that with love all of this can come, and it's okay as long as they love you, as
Yeah.
long as they say they love you.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly. And that's how, I mean, that's how what we have always been fed, right? I mean, in terms of even parents, that whatever the parent can do anything that they want, they can say anything because they love you.
And in fact, a lot of times parents will say that we are
Yeah.
doing because we
We
love you.
love you. Yeah.
So I have gone through like a humongous amount of childhood physical abuse at the hands of my parents. And again, this is there in my book, that I didn't know until a very, very long time that they did not, this is not love, you know.
Yeah.
It's told the whole time that we are doing this to you because we love you and we want the best for you. So we are locking you up in dark bathrooms, we are beating you up because we love you. And
Mm.
okay, maybe then that's how I need to prove that I'm worthy of love.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's why, when we're talking about the toxic relationships, it's not just one thing that we're talking about. It's not just romantic, we're talking about in general the relationships that kind of is so close and shape us into the people that we are, and the ways in which it can be so twisted.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think, Prachi, would you want to add something else to this, or I have a lingering
I
question
think,
from.
yeah, I think I've covered like more or less the major reasons. I'm sure
Hmm.
a lot of people will resonate. Of course, there are more nuanced aspects to all of these reasons
Of course.
also.
Yeah.
But
So, because we spoke about attachment styles, and there is so much conversation around it, and on social media, and there's some great content also coming through, on that. But I do want to talk about that. Does the attachment style kind of play a major role in making people stay? Mm, Is it something that is kind of forms the base of just the way that you connect with another person, your attachment style? Does it make you stay, or does it make you someone who leaves quicker?
like I said abhi thodi der pehle that
Hmm.
it does play a big role in how first you like who you are gravitating towards, who you are attracted towards,
Hmm.
and then how you are conducting yourself in the relationship.
Hmm.
Like I have a couple right now, just had a session today who where like the wife is, and this is an arranged marriage, so obviously like they didn't really know about this
Hmm.
aspect. It's only now that they are figuring it out. And on a side note, this also makes me think that how important it is to actually like do personality assessments for
Yeah.
people who are about to get married. And I
Yeah.
mean, premarital programs do that.
Hmm.
This is exactly how we discovered it for this couple, because they actually came in for lack of physical intimacy.
Hmm.
And because my default is to always start with the assessments, so I started doing that, and then I discovered something really interesting about both people in their personalities, and then that's how we got here. So the wife is she's grown up in a background where she was not she was always walking on eggshells because there was violence in the house and all of that. So she learned to be this small person who's not seen, who's not heard, and just always like pleasing people and like just being on that fawn mode of taking care of everyone so that no blast happens.
Hmm.
And he is someone who grew up in a highly intellectually accomplished family where emotions did not really have a place.
Hmm.
So he's very practical, logical, and all of that. And something in his personality is also some a trait which actually mutes down human emotions for these people.
Hmm.
So it's like, if you have a midline of, let's say, 5 on human emotions, she's at a 10 and he's at a 2.
Two. Oh, yeah. Hmm.
So
So that
that
gap. Yeah.
gap is really
Yeah. It's
wide.
huge. Yes.
It's wide. And so what happens is that in, like if they're planning something in a friends group or something like that, she is super vigilant, hyper vigilant about how everyone is behaving, how they are looking, is someone looking bored, not ye wo. And he's very chill. He's like, हाँ तो इतना बड़ा क्या मतलब, इतना टेंशन लेने की क्या जरूरत है, it's
Yeah.
okay. And what this ends up doing is that she ends up feeling alone all the time. She's like, you don't understand me, you're not able to comfort me, and all of that.
Hmm.
And he gets confused because he's like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So
Yeah.
she's anxiously attached, and he's actually, I wouldn't say he's avoidant attached. He's actually just neutral. He's not secure attached also, but he's more towards secure. So he
Hmm.
doesn't feel the need to uh, constantly like reassure. For him, it's like, if I've
Is it?
committed to you, I'm here. Like I'm
Yeah.
here for you. There is nothing to doubt.
Yeah.
For her, this is not enough. Like she needs to hear it over and over again. And
Hmm.
every time she doesn't hear it, for her, it's a connection to her self-worth.
Yeah.
That am I not lovable?
Hmm.
Is this person going to just leave any moment?
Hmm.
That's the anxious attachment style. They
Hmm.
they want connection, and with every step of connection, they also have anxiety paired with it.
Yeah. Then what if this goes?
What if this goes away? Because
Yeah.
every time something good happens, For them, it's a signal that this will leave anytime.
Yeah. And it's more momentary than adding to the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, those gestures kind of add to the fact that it kind of establishes and it's important. But if you're anxious, then you feel that, oh my God, this is too good, will go away.
Yeah, and a fascinating thing about anxious attachment also is that biologically speaking, in your brain, something happens when there is a rupture in a relationship with an anxious attached person. Like if there's a little fight or an argument or something, for them it's like it feels very permanent in that moment. They think that, oh, okay, this is going to now change our relationship forever. This person is never going to look at me the same way again. And what happens in their brain is that they lose the perception of continuity of
Hmm.
the relationship for that time.
Hmm.
वो भूल जाते हैं उस मोमेंट पे कि ये रिलेशनशिप 1 साल से चल रहा है या 2 साल से चल रहा है या 5 साल से चल रहा है.
Hmm.
और ऐसा नहीं होता है कि 1 सेकंड में इंसान आपको डिस्कार्ड कर देता है.
Exactly.
But they can't figure that out because biologically also the brain has lost that ability. The threat center of the brain
Hmm.
has kind of just given them that idea that now this is final.
Yeah.
So this continuity aspect really like just plays a lot of role in anxious attached relationships.
Hmm. So does
And
that make it easier for them to kind of move past it or believe that it's over and then just get out of it, or do they linger on?
you mean get out of the relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I wouldn't say it's easier for them to get out of the relationship. It's more of an impulsive action that they take.
Hmm.
It's just like, okay, ये ज्यादा overwhelming हो रहा है, निकल लो यहाँ से.
Yeah.
ठीक है? They don't know
Hmm.
how to stand with the discomfort and
Hmm.
sort it out.
Hmm.
In their head, it's like, okay, this has happened, लड़ाई हो गई है, अब ये कभी same नहीं होगा. This
Hmm.
person will always ignore me. They will never look at me the same way. Before they hurt me, let me make an exit.
Hmm.
Before they come and tell me that they want to leave me, let me get out of here. So
Hmm.
they regret it also later on. That's why with anxious attached people, there's a lot of push and pull in the relationship.
Hmm.
On again, off again, kind of, break
Hmm.
up, फिर make up,
Make
फिर
up.
go.
Hmm.
तो ये बहुत होता है. And
Okay.
avoidant attached, जैसे मैंने पहले की I explained that for them it's like the investment is really precious.
Hmm.
Like, okay, I will not give even an inch until I know for sure that this person wants to be with me.
Yeah.
और वो कभी होता नहीं है sure, मतलब it's never
Hmm.
enough.
Hmm.
So
So
even
do
if they
they?
have a healthy partner, even if they
Yeah.
have a healthy partner, they will end up destroying the relationship internally.
Okay. So do they have like that pause right at the beginning itself? Like they never get that deep, or
Mm.
do you think that they get in the relationship and then leave again pretty quickly?
They have a pause from the beginning, like they have a measured attachment investment from the beginning itself.
Hmm.
Okay, like I just yesterday somebody was telling me that their boyfriend said that she said that I want to come and pick you up at the airport, and he said no need. So she says no, I want to do it, and he's like no, but I don't want you to do something that I'm never going to do for you. So I was like, oh wow, like in one statement. And then she said, but like, what is the logic of this?
Yeah.
Right? Then I started explaining that, it'll take you effort. And I don't
Hmm.
want to do that because if I don't do it, then you will resent me.
Hmm.
This is a classic avoidant rational statement. They don't believe that no, somebody would want to make effort for them.
Hmm.
And when someone does, they feel like indebted.
Yeah.
And if they feel like I can't return it the same way, then this will happen and that will happen. Then like this whole scenario builds up in their head, and वो already उनके दिमाग में वो doom हो ही जाता है, तो वो
Hmm.
आगे ही नहीं बढ़ते हैं
Hmm.
पूरा imagine करके. But avoidant attached people don't exit so fast
Hmm.
as anxious attached. They are more impulsive.
Hmm.
Avoidant attached are वो शुरू से कनेक्ट ही नहीं करेंगे, तो दूसरा वाला छोड़ के जाना चाहे तो जा सकता है.
हाँ,
Like
मैं
that.
तो यही हूँ.
हाँ.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's interesting. So, Prachi, you're a trauma focused therapist,
Yes.
and I want to do talk about this. That does your childhood trauma or past trauma play a role in influencing the kind of relationships that people choose and the kind of relationships that they choose to stay in?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, although this trauma is like a really vast topic, if I had to summarize the aspects of how trauma impacts the choice and staying in a relationship that's not serving people, I would probably summarize it in basic 4 points. One, trauma forms attachment wounds. And when I say trauma forms attachment wounds, I'm especially talking about complex trauma, something that happens to you in your formative years in a relational context. This is complex trauma. Simple trauma is like one big event that happens, like let's say a huge accident or something like
Loss
that.
of someone. Yeah.
Loss of someone. So
Mm.
that's simple trauma, like one event, and then you kind of, you have an impact. But complex trauma is more deadly because it happens in formative years when your sense of self is developing, and there is a relational wound that occurs.
Mm.
So it creates a hole in your development only, like who you think of yourself as.
Mm.
So forming attachment wounds is one of the most deadly ways that it kind of determines whether you will stay, who you will choose. Second is that it creates a sense of defectiveness. I am utterly flawed. There is
Mm.
something wrong with me. A lot of victims of abuse of any kind have this trait in them. They will carry a sense of defect that something has now broken in me, something has gotten damaged beyond repair. And I have to hide this part of me because if someone was to see me in my entirety, they wouldn't want to be with me, they wouldn't love me. So this defectiveness leads to people just like compartmentalizing their sense of self. Therefore, they never show up authentically in any relationship.
Mm.
Interesting thing is, a lot of narcissists carry this.
Mm.
The narcissism is an overcompensation for a sense of defect.
Yeah.
And that's a conversation for another time because that
That is
so
going to take a while.
exactly.
Yes.
Next, I mean, trauma leads to unhealthy coping styles. It does not give you the opportunity to practice or model or observe healthy coping. So you get into addictions, you get into avoidance coping, where you will just run away from something that's overwhelming you instead of facing it.
Mm.
It creates numbing coping styles where you just zone out. You don't want to face whatever is happening. It can create this fight or flight response style in you.
Mm.
And you are either always combative or you're
Mm.
just running away.
Mm.
And then there is fawn and freeze also, like where you learn how to just continuously appease people because you think if you don't please people, you will not be safe.
Mm.
And freeze where you just freeze, collapse, like nervous system is shut down. I
Mm.
can't deal with this. So all of these unhealthy coping styles come up because of trauma, which, as is clear to see, will affect
Your
your
relation.
choices in a relationship.
Mm.
And finally, and I think this is the most heartbreaking impact of trauma, I think that it leads people to seek love from a place of desperation and hunger rather than abundance and joy.
Yeah.
So they are just like desperately looking for love, and therefore they will settle for any morsel, any breadcrumb,
Mm.
anything that comes their way, rather than having their hunger satisfied, coming from a place which is full, which is abundant, and then seeking joy. They just seek any fulfillment possible, and that's, I think, the most heartbreaking aspect of it.
Yeah. And I think in the world that we see today, especially the younger generation, this kind of has become really, really, that's seen quite a lot. I think also because we have sort of numbed down our emotions and our sense of self-worth so much with all the social media, all the distractions and everything, that we've lost connection to ourselves and our own sense of self-worth and what do we stand for. And then it's just become like a thing that, oh, you do want love. So, you just take whatever comes your way.
And imagine, मतलब पहले तो ये, and then combined with the fact that you don't know what love looks like healthy love
Exactly.
looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Double whammy, like it's a recipe for disaster.
Disaster. Exactly. And yeah, so glad that we could kind of, touch upon that bit
Yeah.
because I don't think it's spoken about a lot, the how your childhood trauma and what you move through in life kind of influences.
I agree.
So I want to ask you another question, which is actually a question in two parts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So everyone knows or is told that they must leave a relationship that does not serve them. At least nowadays, we're hearing that pretty often.
Yeah.
But what are some of the first steps that someone can take if they realize that they're in a toxic relationship, but are feeling stuck to take a step? But they know that it's not really there, but they're still not very confident. And also, I think perhaps the one that's the most important one from my end is that is leaving the only option?
Yeah.
And how does one know when to leave and when to work on something? Because objectivity, of course, becomes extremely difficult when someone is emotionally involved themselves into it. So, yes, two parts to this question.
Actually, the answer to these two questions is same. It overlaps. So they are, for me, actually, they are not different questions. Because one, if you can't distinguish whether you need to leave or repair, then that is the first step of the problem. So once you have clarity there, then the next steps anyway become clear. Right? So my response is going to be the same for both questions. It kind of takes everything into account. The first step is to figure out whether this is a toxic relationship or it is an abusive relationship. And there's a clear difference. And I'm so glad that you said that is exit the only option, because this is exactly the message of hope that my book brings, that you think that exit is probably the only option, and sometimes people find themselves so stuck because they're like, exit is not possible. So then does that mean that I have to like go through this for the rest of my life? There is hope. Exit is not the only option, and that depends on the kind of relationship you are in. Every abusive relationship is a toxic relationship. Of course. But every toxic relationship is not an abusive relationship. A toxic relationship is a two-way relationship. Both people are doing something to each other, which is triggering them, and it is maintaining this dynamic which is hurting both people. That's toxic. But in abusive relationships, it's one way. There is one abuser and there is one victim. And there is control involved. Toxicity is actually it's like a very maladaptive bid for connection. When two people are toxic towards each other, basically they want connection, they just don't know how to get it. So they are
and attention.
they're using all kinds of maladaptive coping that they've learned through their respective lives, and they're trying to make this very bad soup of it. But in abusive relationships, the intent is always control, and it is one way. So one person controls, one person gets controlled. And there is all kinds of, physical, can be emotional, can be financial abuse, can be sexual abuse. But always the intent is power and control and dominance. Repair is possible for a toxic relationship. For an abusive relationship, you have to exit. You cannot take upon yourself the burden of fixing an abuser. If they ever get fixed, that's their journey to make. Yeah. But you can't stay long enough to find out, because you will annihilate yourself in that process. And well, recognizing this also takes a bit of gravity, a bit of rational thought, a bit of conscious, mindful assessment of your relationship, because honestly, like, there is enough and more content nowadays which is overlapping the two concepts, and everything is abusive. So yeah, that's
the
not
lines
true.
Yeah, blurring.
So like I said, in a toxic relationship, two people want connection. They are both trying to connect. It's just that they're not doing it in a good way. But in an abusive relationship, only one person feels all the helplessness, the sadness, the trappedness, or the painful emotions, and the other person is always chill. That's probably an abusive relationship. So potential for repair is only existing in a toxic relationship. So that's the first step of differentiating, right? Then next level, you decide whether you can repair it. Okay, is it too far gone? Is the damage too much? Have we completely lost ourselves by now. If that is not the case, and if you can repair it, give it a shot. Of course, it has to be a collaborative effort. Even if it's a toxic relationship and both of you want connection, one person cannot take on the whole responsibility of it. So, as long as collaboration is intended, it is repairable. Third, if yes, we are willing to collaborate, if we think that the relationship is worth saving, please find a therapist.
Yeah, don't go on the mission yourself.
Exactly. Because you're too hurt, you're too wounded, you're too close to it, most of all.
Exactly. The objectivity goes out of the window, right?
Absolutely goes out of the window. And both of you need like a good, safe space to be able to heal yourself. And a therapist can provide that, right? If you try to do this yourself, आपके पास already resource बचा ही नहीं है, आप क्या लगाओगे उसमें? ठीक है, तो please find a therapist, a good therapist. My book also has an entire chapter on how to find a good therapist.
Awesome. I think a lot of people need that.
Yes. Then once this is done, like you've started the process, because obviously once you get into therapy, it's going to be a longish process. It takes time. But then once this is done, also I want you to keep in mind that leaving does not always mean breaking up permanently or a divorce. You can try a break. You can try some distance. You can try just like setting a timeline and saying, okay, you know what? I think we both need some space for a month. Let's think about things. Let's come back. Try and figure this out. That also works. So, if leaving in your mind is that ultimate step, then you can like dial it down a little bit. And then finally, I just want to like say this, and you can use this as a thumb rule, whoever is listening and you want to make a decision, that if there is no abuse, condition 1, and if two people can still align on a common vision for a life together, condition 2, combined with mutual respect and willingness to cooperate, condition 3, then it's worth a shot. And one more thing that you can actually use to decide this is, do I even want to fix this? Because I understand that sometimes you're just too tired. You don't want to do this anymore. You don't want to put in more effort, and it's okay. It's absolutely okay. You do have a right to make that decision, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else, as long as it makes sense to you. So yeah.
Great. And what an amazingly insightful conversation. Relationships and any kind of relationships in our life, whether it's with our parents, whether it's with a partner, whether it's with, very close friends or anything like that, can heal us or hold us back. And that's why it's so important to be very, very mindful in the kind of people that you choose to surround yourself with. And sometimes an unhealthy dynamic, whether it's with your parents or whether it's with your partner, can feel like a never-ending cycle. But as we've explored today, awareness is the first step to change. And is there any closing line that you would want to, kind of leave the listeners with, Prachi?
This is something that I notice often, and I've noticed it in my own life, and I think probably everybody struggles with it to a certain extent. Believe me, you don't need to earn love. If someone is making you feel like you need to work hard for love, something is wrong there. It could just be a misfit equation. It could just be a wrong place, wrong time kind of a situation. But you deserve love for who you are, no matter how you are. And if it's not given to you unconditionally, and okay, there's a disclaimer here that, that whole narrative of, oh, take me as I am, accept me as I am, accept me at my worst.
I was hoping you were going to say that.
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about simple human decency. Just compassion, respect, and decency, and that वो दर्जा कि because you are a human, I give you the same liberty, space, respect, compassion that I give to myself.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. ये करने के लिए आपको कुछ करना, या you don't have to prove yourself to
Yeah.
get this.
Yeah.
And only when you get this, you will be able to be your best version in whichever situation.
Yeah.
तो अगर आपको कोई यहाँ पे मैं यहाँ पे एक एग्जांपल देती हूँ, डेटिंग में आजकल बहुत होता है, बिकॉज आई एम अ डेटिंग कोच आल्सो ना, लॉट ऑफ गर्ल्स विल कम एंड से, माय गॉड द डेट वाज अमेजिंग बिकॉज ही स्पोक टू मी सो नाइसली, and I'm like, but like that's basic. Like, why are you giving him points for speaking to you nicely? Like, what would you have done if he hadn't? Would you
Yeah.
have continued with the date? Like, you should have just left.
We're probably given another chance. Oh, he's just, maybe needs
Bad
time
mood.
to speak to me nicely, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is basic. You deserve, and well, why
Right.
only girls? Boys also, men also. Like
Yeah.
there are men on dating apps who are having horrible experiences.
Of course.
Right. We've have spoken about a little bit of it in
Yeah,
our
dating. Yeah.
episode, right? Why is dating so hard? So, yeah, so like this connects to that there are some basics, universal laws of love,
Hmm.
and you need not earn them. You are worthy of them.
Yeah.
And you build from there.
Exactly. And I
That's
think it rounds back to your own sense of self-esteem or self-worth, right? I mean, it's amazing how everything is kind of linked together. Because if you're okay with the bare minimum that someone spoke to you
yeah,
nicely,
yeah.
that means that you really need to go and check in with yourself as to what is your sense of self-esteem and self-worth really boiling down to. And I do agree. We are all deserving of love. And for who we are today and all the possibilities that someone chooses to see in us that they can be a part of in our growth and grow together. So that's a beautiful way of kind of ending today's conversation, because we are two very, very positive people. And we don't like to end things on the note of toxicity of any kind. So, yes. So, thank you for joining us, everyone, on this conversation. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with your friends, leave a comment, and let's keep the conversation going, because we love hearing from you. So, until next time, from my side, stay mindful, stay empowered, take care of yourselves, and give love a chance.
Absolutely, give love a chance, give yourself a chance. And
Absolutely.
we'll see you in the next episode very soon. If you have ideas that you want to leave with us, that you want us to talk about, well, you know where to find us.
Yes. Take care, everyone. See you. Bye.